She says the driver held a syringe with a needle in what appeared to be a well-planned drugging plan along with his colleague. It sent shockwaves of fear, bringing to the fore once again the matatu menace that has seen many unsuspecting passengers fall victim to crimes. Have you had any nasty experiences? I know a lot of you have been sharing those with us. Some of you have shed light on the good, but tonight a lot of people are shocked about that story. Before we take a look at your tweets and texts, let me introduce you to my panelists. On my right, we have Simon Kimutai, who is the chair of the Matatu Owners Association. And then we have Delano Kilu, who is the Secretary General of PROSAC and also a security expert. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me tonight.
Thank you,
let's see what some of you are saying on Twitter before we get into the discussion tonight. Let's bring those up right now. Okay, so we have Felix Wandera saying, there's a group of pickpockets, their favorite route, Yaya Center, Community and KNH. They board either at Kencom or GPO. They're well groomed. They carry with them brown envelopes or backpacks, even newspapers. Okay. Kamau says, I come from that route. I think the one that the lady had narrated about. The pickpockets are very dangerous and they're known by drivers and makangas. And then we have Asetol saying, I once saw someone stealing in a matatu but raised an alarm only for 7 others to emerge. They almost beat me up. Okay, it's Morara says, gone are the days where each matatu had a photo of the driver. It helped to stop matatu menace. I think we have one or two more. Mercy says, I'm a victim of theft and drugging in a matatu. The drug they use, what if someone sleeps and never wakes up? That's Mercy Casey. Mr. Kimuta, I think it's best if I start with you. There's a lot of concern, a lot of fear. This is really not the first time, but again, it's bringing to light what people have been saying here and there. What exactly is the issue? What's happening? How concerned are you as well as the chair?
Well, of course, what could have happened over the weekend leaves a lot to be desired. It's very unfortunate if this incident happened. And what we're concerned about is, are these business people or they are disguising as matatu touts to be able to do what they're doing? And on the other hand, I believe this does not happen in every matatu. And I believe that the others do what they're supposed to be doing. And this incident is isolated and should be condemned.
It doesn't seem isolated.
Well, there are few. I mean, if you look at the tweets that have come in, how many vehicles do we have in the country?
Yeah.
Who are providing public service transport. I mean, public transport services. And I believe that if it was happening every day, we would have had hue and cry all over. But all said and done, this is a thing that should not happen, even a bit. But unfortunately, as investors in the industry, there are many things that we have raised that have not been addressed. Yeah. We've talked of, even giving formal training to these people and setting up institutions that can give any kind of training.
Right.
That would
I'm sorry to interrupt you, it's just that we have a lot of ground to cover, so we need to move along. First of all, it definitely doesn't seem to be an isolated incident. But also you went and you said something very interesting. You say that you're not sure if these were businessmen disguised. Aren't there supposed to be regulations to check the drivers, the conductors, so that we know that there's a database, we know who these people are? As we speak, one of them is at large. Yeah, so there seems to be a loophole there.
There is a loophole, and this loophole has been brought about by enforcement of the law. You've talked of pictures, the law states it very well. And you know, in this business, it's a business that is based on trust. You give a crew your vehicle trusting that they'll do what they're supposed to be doing. Unfortunately, those who are enforcing the law have had a lot of interests, and corrupt practices has riddled the industry so much that at times you would see what is happening there. Most owners could be working elsewhere, and we expect those enforcing the law to ensure that everything is done in the correct manner. But somehow the interests, I mean, policemen on roads don't enforce the law anymore. They are just collecting revenue.
So as an association, are your hands tied? Have you not cried out against these?
We have done so. So many times I've been quoted talking about this, but nothing has been done. And I believe it's the area where most, corrupt practices affected most. Look at policemen on the highways. What do? Stop a vehicle, extend their hands, and they get money and let the vehicle go without necessarily checking. Though SACCOs have been given that responsibility, but unfortunately, they have not even been trained. SACCOs have been put in place. They have not been trained on how to do anything that they are supposed to do.
Okay, let me bring in Delano and get your thoughts. Is it what he's saying in terms of, you know, sometimes we feel our hands are tied, it's more of the law enforcers not doing their bit, or does the matatu industry just need a complete overhaul, in your opinion?
I think, Janet, let's call a spade a spade. We know there are problems in this country. We know there are challenges with personal security, especially in the public transport sector. And I think it's just always good to say the truth.
Yeah.
As the Secretary General for Protective and Safety Association of Kenya, I'm responsible, together with my national chairman, to ensure discipline within our ranks, which are drawn from the military, the police, and private security firms across this country. And we then enforce that within our society. So in this case, I would actually encourage Bwana Kimutai, if you're having a challenge with security and as an association you feel you're teaching on the brink, you're not getting the training, reach out to societies like us that are involved in security and say, Delano, how can you guys help us? But before you can get help, you have to acknowledge first there's a problem. I don't think that this was an isolated incident. We've had these incidents for many years, and we're very aware of them from a granular perspective. If we start finger pointing and talking about corruption here and there, those are challenges that have existed in Kenya for a long time. But when we start now talking about the personal security of individuals getting onto public transport, then we're crossing the line, so to speak. And it no longer becomes a matatu incident. Actually, that vehicle is a scene of crime. And from a scene of crime perspective, then we have to take any incident very seriously, especially if it's a young female that is alone, that has been approached by more than one other person. So we need to address the issue. It's something that we must challenge, and we have to address the issue in a very mature manner in saying that there is a problem. Let's acknowledge, first of all, there is a problem, and then let's look into, as a nation, what are we going to do about it then? And what are the solutions and measures that we can actually rapidly take to turn around that situation?
I think there's another concern. Is the same lady talked about having reported the incident, the police seemed very laissez-faire about the whole thing, very cavalier. So again, it makes you, as a passenger, you almost feel helpless, because you're thinking, I feel like my life was threatened, I've tried to report to the authorities, but they're sort of saying, we'll deal with it, relax. So what are your thoughts, from a security perspective, on how passengers can feel safe and secure, despite the fact that the same people who are supposed to be offering some sort of reassurance are kind of very relaxed about the whole thing?
I think, first of all, Janet, we must commend this young lady. She was brave enough to come out and report the incident. The bulk majority of incidents go unreported, especially where people have been drugged and raped from incidents such as these. We are aware of this, but this lady came out, reported the incident. That, first of all, brought the initial response, which you just mentioned was lackadaisical. This incident in particular, and we went into granular detail as a professional society into this particular incident, and we have the best criminologists in Kenya who examined in detail this particular situation, and we addressed the situation. We had county commanders get involved in just this one incident to say what is happening, and are young people safe? You know, if one of our young men or young women, especially like now, all of a sudden you've had a rainstorm, somebody could be stuck in traffic for 4 or 5 hours, what kind of environment are they going to be stuck in on that road? So we looked at this issue. The issue was escalated. Now, that's the missing element in Kenya today. We don't have security escalations. People report, they don't get a response, and they say it's useless to go and report because so-so went through something, nothing happened after it. I think we're beginning to change that situation. And what we're saying is we're calling on members of the public to come out. If something happens to you, report the incident. Make sure you get a proper OB number. Make sure you have the names of the officers that were participating in this. And then if nothing else happens, like what this young lady did, report it on social media. Just go out and say, this happened to me. It may be a bit shameful, but go ahead and say something went wrong. Because unless we as the general public,
then we won't get anywhere.
You won't get anywhere.
What are your thoughts on what he's saying, especially in terms of reaching out to organizations?
You know, one thing is that we talk from different levels. He's talking of professionals. I'm talking of, if I give you a history of a matatu crew, this is a person who could have dropped out of school and or could have, you know, been a person who's not been a rebel in the society, and this person eventually goes to get clearance from police. He comes back with no training at all, and eventually is given a PSV license with no training. Now, when you talk of looking down upon, the Matatu crew, I can't blame them. They've not received any training. I've made a lot of recommendations that they need even to be trained by NYS so that they do a very important job. We don't need to condemn them totally. Those acts of lawlessness are supposed to be dealt with, especially, I still say they're isolated. How many people travel in Nairobi in a day? Millions of people travel in Nairobi in a day. And you cannot say the whole industry is rotten. We can't say that.
I don't think
these are very... Actually, when I say isolated, it doesn't mean it is only 1 out of 10 million. It could be 10 out of 1 million. What is that? Isn't that isolated?
Look,
just a moment. We gave you a lot of time to talk. And I want to tell you that what it requires, we don't need to condemn, we need to correct. Areas where there is law which has been broken, there is law that can take position.
I think before you step in, there's a concern here because there's incidents of people being drugged. I understand where you're coming from in terms of correcting as opposed to condemning, but these are very serious crimes that appear to be committed.
As I've said, where there is a crime which has been committed, a crime has been committed, there is a law that can take care of that. We are condemning the same, but we are saying we don't totally condemn the industry. The industry plays a big role in economic activities of this country. We are the ones who are facilitating movements. So what we need, where there is a case, we deal with that particular case, as opposed to saying maybe there are thousands of them who have not reported. This is guessing. This is something that is just in your mind.
Are you aware of these crimes, though, as the chair? Have you heard about them? Have you...
About this incident, we've heard about pickpockets that has been tweeted there. We've not had an incident of this nature before. So then we shouldn't say loudly that there are many which are not reported. Kenyans are very clever. They do report. We receive cases and we try to advise those circles or companies that are involved in operations in that particular area to deal with them squarely. And it's very important not to exaggerate. It's good to point at where problems are, and we deal with it.
Let's try and keep your answer brief just so that we can cover a bit more ground. But you wanted to respond to what he was saying.
I'll keep my answer, quite brief. There are many incidents. They are now beginning to surface on social media simply because this particular lady came out. So she's kind of like a Rosa Parks for us. However, in the incident where you're saying that the Matatu guys may be the Form 4 dropout, look, we respect the industry, and transport is a necessity. Crime, however, cannot be atoned for in any way. We thank God for the Transport Association. However, when you say that you've made several calls to government, even saying, let the NYS train the Matatu crew, come with a structure. This is my suggestion. Come with a structure and say, we have 5,000 guys who are ready to start training in November. We have, as a result of this, we have these 10,000, these are our listed guys, these are our registered guys from these routes, they are ready for training, tell us where they should appear so that they can be trained by NYS. The other aspect of this that I just wanted to reach out and mention is that anytime when somebody, the incident of saying that there's an injection, something that can pierce the skin of somebody, you don't know where that needle came from, somebody could get an HIV infection from that, it becomes highly serious. We cannot underestimate it, even if it only happens to one person. It doesn't have to happen to 44 different people. Okay. Just the one person, that incident has to be addressed.
That kind of suggestion, is it workable, is it doable, from where you're sitting?
He's talking from a different angle, as I had said earlier. He doesn't know what we've done. So when we talk of making recommendations, we put up the structure. Okay. This is a very important industry, and we have given out proposals, counter proposals, and we have given out structure on training.
And has anything happened?
Nothing has happened so far. This is an area where has been neglected, an area which has been thought to be an area for hooliganism and all sorts of ills. And like if we talk of railway training school, Bandari, we don't have anything on road transport. This is a very important sector. People just are issued with PSV licenses, irrespective of when or whether they have experience or not. So it requires some attention from those who are in authority to be able to professionalize, as opposed to issuing those licenses without even classifying them. This country, you can get anything you want from the back door. You can, and probably you will not be able to, you know, get in the right way. And everybody goes for the shortcut. So what happens? We have half-baked professionals.
Okay. Can I ask you, so then what happens now? Okay, let's first of all, I have two more questions. One is, if someone has a similar incident to this lady who reported it, is there a way they can contact the association? Will they get the kind of response or help necessary? If the same lady who felt like her life was endangered.
You see, these are criminal activities. The first thing is that we don't have powers to arrest, neither to punish. We represent those who have invested in the industry, who are not even involved in the operations. They are only involved in probably top management. And what happens down there, you know, this is an industry that has come from nowhere and is trying to get its way to a position. So that's why I talked of it requires some kind of attention. But all in all, what we say is that we advise those who have invested to put rules and regulations that can govern their operations. Unfortunately, for incidents like this where crime has been committed, they must report to police and let law take its course. And it's unfortunate that this happened, and we are sorry about it. But apparently, our hands are tied. Right.
So right now, if there's, you know, in terms of solutions, you're trying to put these proposals out there, and you're pretty much saying, we've done what we can, and we hope for the best. Or what are you saying? What are you telling Kenyans tonight?
I thought you're almost taking the direction of President who said, I've done what I had to do. But somehow we are not giving up. We are trying to professionalize the industry. Apparently, is that the regulator also does not give good guidance on operations. When we let vehicles behave in that manner, you would find that you wouldn't even know whether these people are they are qualified, they are compliant. So we really don't know what can be done to retrieve this bad image in the industry, because what has happened is, as I said earlier on, it requires. Why did we have Michuki and things worked? Because Michuki ensured that there were proper enforcement.
Yes, and I was going to ask, and that's kind of gone down the drain, in a sense. The uniforms, the licenses, the pictures, all that doesn't seem to be...
But it's not, I mean, we can still retrieve it. What we need is...
the support and the necessary support. We need to wind up. Your final comment, but I also need to ask you to talk about something very crucial as quickly as you can, and that is, what if someone finds themselves in a situation in a public service vehicle where they feel like their lives are at risk, or where they feel unsafe? What are the step-by-step measures? So very briefly, if you can, Delano.
Very briefly, but what I'd really like to do is reach out to Bwana Kimutai. You know, in these cases you've talked about it, it's crime, there's security challenges. We'd really like to reach out to you as Protective and Safety Association of Kenya to help you in those areas. I think it took a long time to deteriorate into this situation from the time of Michuki. But it's, you know, we're not looking at any instant fixes. Let's take the time. I know you've already done a lot of work. Find out where you are and see how we can actually build up. Now, if you find yourself in an incident where you are on any form of public transport and you're not, number one, the first thing is follow your intuition. In personal security, and His Excellency the President said it's our responsibility. Your private security, your personal security is yours. If you feel that your intuition is telling you something's wrong, make sure you don't just, you know, walk into that situation. You need to have that savannah instinct that tells you, if something's wrong, walk away. Don't create a fuss, just walk away or move away as quickly and quietly as possible. If somebody is deterring your progress, then you must make noise. You must raise the attention of people around you. You must raise the alarm. So sound the alarm. Number two, also, like what the lady did, is she used whatever she had available to her to get out of that situation, which looked like a very compromising situation for her personal security. Don't be silent. Don't try and obey people who are trying to kill you or take advantage of you. It's vitally important. But most of all, you must report the incident. Of course, don't do anything foolish. If somebody stuck a gun to your head, unless you want to die, don't just, you know, react. If somebody stuck a gun to your head or put a gun in your back and it's a gun, then, you know, handle yourself with care. But you must report the incident. It's very important. Now, what we're looking at is several solutions to this problem. There are technologies that are available nowadays. Almost every single Kenyan holds a phone. And we're actually looking into solutions where people will be able to hold down a particular key on their phone for 4 or 5 seconds, which sends an alert to the nearest police stations, etc. We are also looking at CCTV cameras at every single matatus stand, which is something that we're recommending to government to actually deploy, because then we'll be able to build a list of perpetrators. Just like you have lists of pedophiles, you have lists of different types of characters, even from the Members Association, we'll be able to identify and begin to pull out the culprits.
Okay. He brings up the point as well that it's like you're speaking on different levels. However, some sort of like decent solutions there. Maybe we'll leave you to discuss it, and certainly we'll have to bring